Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Am I audible? Okay, thank you. Screen is visible, right? Hi, everyone. I'm Himanshu, a PSC scholar from IIT Bombay. Today, I am leading you through this week one tutorial class. Wait. So this will be like more interactive session. So you people also have to respond, right? So this is like we technology course and course instructor for this Professor Sudeep and Professor Agnew. Okay. So the first question, sorry. Okay, we can start now, I think. So the first question for this tutorial class, the immune cells that form the bridge between innate and adaptive immune responses are option A is macrophages, option B is B cells, option C is dendritic cells, and option D is T cells. Now you guys have to respond like which one is the correct answer. So you have 2 minutes timings and after that you can start. So You have to tell the name of the immune cells that act as a bridge between the innate and this adaptive immune responses. Anyone?
Option C.
Okay. Option C. So one of you are saying option C. Anyone else?
Ma'am, option B.
Okay. So two people are saying the different options. One is saying B and another one is C. Anyone else want to answer for this question?
Option C, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else want to answer for this question? Okay, let's see the right answer for this question. So option C is the right answer, that is dendritic cells. So dendritic cells are the right answer. So but like let's start with like what are the immune cells and what is this immune system? So this immune system is a very interesting and which protect our body from all the foreign organism, right? Much like a like when there is a thief, then police will capture that so that crime will decrease. Like that, these are the policemen. These immune cells are the policemen, right? For our immune system. So these immune cells, here in the question they ask that which are the immune cells that act as a bridge between this innate and adaptive immune response, right? So innate immune system, what are this innate immune system which already present in our body, like the first line of defense, we called it as this innate immune system. Anyone wants to anyone know that like what are the innate immune examples that you know in first line of defense?
Skin.
Yeah, skin.
Mucous membrane.
Yeah, mucous membrane, right?
Stomach acids.
Which acid? Okay, so great. You people are right. First is skin. Skin, like which is present all over the body. So this is the first line of defense that protect our body from the microorganism, right? Mucous membrane, we know that it also surrounds the epithelial layer and it also protect from the acids and all. Also, like in our eyes, lysozyme is present enzyme so that it also protect from the foreign organism so that it can't attack to our body and can't cause this disease. But when the body in the body, any organism cross this innate immunity, then adaptive immune response come into the consideration and it start playing their role so that they can remove that organism, right? So basically these two type of immune system are present in our body. One is this innate immune system and another one is adaptive immune system. So the immune system which act as a bridge between these two immune responses is this dendritic cells. Now what is this dendritic cells? So these are the type of antigen presenting cells, that is APCs. Here the name also suggests APCs. That means antigen who present the antigen. And antigen, what is this antigen is? Antigen is the foreign organism. Here we are depicting any foreign organism which try to come into our body. We called it as antigen, right? So whenever this antigen comes, some cells show that here we see antigens are here. so they present that antigen, right? Like the police capture this thief and they show that we capture this thief, right? So they show to the judge or like to other peoples, like whatever they decide they'll do with that thief. Like that, this APCs shows that here we capture this antigen. Now other cells will come. If they want to kill that, they will kill, or other thing they want to do with that antigen, they'll do. So these dendritic cells, they act as an APCs, that is antigen presenting cells, as the name also depicting, which presents the antigen and play a key role in innate immune system with the adaptive immune system. Now, how they bridge this two immune system? These dendritic cells patrol the tissues, they patrols like and recognize the pathogen. If they found any pathogen in anywhere in the tissues, how they recognize using the this PRR. So pattern recognition receptors. Each antigen have their specific pathogen PAM. We called it as pathogen associated pattern, right? So these receptors are present on the dendritic cells. Using this receptor, they recognize the PAM molecules, that is pathogen associated molecular pattern. They recognize this PAM using this PRR. And here one of the example I wrote, that is the toll like receptors. These are the receptors which recognize this PAM molecule, right? And then what they do is they also engulf the pathogen through phagocytosis. Now what they do is how they act as a bridge. They, after the capturing, they process the antigen, and dendritic cells then migrate to the lymph node. Why they are migrating to the lymph nodes? Because we know that in the lymph node only these B cells and T cells are present, and which is a part of the adaptive immune system, right? So these, in the lymph node, they present the antigens on their surface using the MHC molecule. Now, what is MHC? Major histocompatibility complex, right? So we have on our cells these MHCs are present, right? But these APCs have different kind of MHCs than the normal MHC. There are two kinds of MHC. One is this MHC1 and another one is MHC2. In every cells, these MHC1 are present, but in case of antigen presenting cells, what kind of MHCs are present? MHC 1, right? In case of APCs. So this is very important question. Many time in the entrance exam, people ask like MHC in normal cells, what kind of MHCs are present? So you can see that in normal cells, MHC1 are present, and in case of APCs, this MHC2 are present, right? And then they activate this naive T cells. Why the word naive? Naive T cells and the mature T cells. So there are kind of two T cells. Naive, which don't have any previous exposure to any pathogen. That's why they are naive. They don't know, right? Once, like, whenever we have to learn the things, right? But if they no pathogen initially comes and they don't have any idea like how they have to react or and all, and these are not activated, no secretion of any cytokines, no secretion of any chemokines, whenever they have to, like whenever the pathogens come, and these dendritic cells break down that pathogens and convert into the APC, like because antigen, and then they present like they expose their antigens through their receptors to these T cells, and these naive T cells then convert into the mature T cells, and then they'll start the initiate the adaptive immune response, right? Any question, any doubt on this? You people can ask if any doubt is there, right? So let's see now the dendritic T cell structure. So this is the main dendritic T cell structure or also here we can see that on a very small cells how many receptors are present, right? and these different receptors work differently in different scenarios, right? So a very little cells, and here we can see that how much complex structure is there. Sorry. So this is the structures. Here bacterial toxin की presence में they binds to these receptors, and here chemokine receptors are there which in that chemokines will come and they'll bind, and these are the toll-like receptor families which binds to the specific antigen or PAMP molecules, and here different types of receptors are present which help in antigen binding, because in all the antigen it's not possible like if they are not able to bind with their specific PAM molecule, then they can bind with their manose part. So they have different binding site, so that they'll like very accurately, so that they'll be bind to that antigen, or they'll recognize even very small antigens. So that's why there are different kind of receptors present which bind with the antigen, right? So this is like how they act as a bridge between this innate and adaptive cells. um, so this is the innate immune. Here these are the PAMP molecules. Is this is the antigen. They have this PAM. This is pathogen associated molecular patterns. It may be proteins, or it may be carbohydrate, lipids, or nucleic acid. These PRR, which have this pathogen recognition receptors. Pathogen recognition receptors. One example I already told, that is the toll-like receptors. So on this receptor, these PAMP molecule will come and they'll bind with this macrophage or with this dendritic cells. And once these PAMP molecule, when this PRR receptors will recognize this PAMP,
Hi, Chaitanya.
then they process.
Hey.
Um, can you please turn off your mic? One of the students have. I can't see because I'm presenting. So once these PAMP molecules will recognize by this PRR receptor, then the processing of this antigen starts. And once the processing finished, then what they do is through this receptor, they represent this antigen to this naive T cells. Wait, someone is- So here we can see that once this, then this present this antigen to this naive T cells, and after that it will convert into the mature T, and then these naive T cells further activates this Th1, T helper 1, Th2, Th70 different type of T cells, and further this Th2 types will activate the B cells also. And B cells, the main function of this B cells is the production of antibodies. So these T cells and B cells are the mainly adaptive immunity, and innate immunity have, which you people earlier told me that skin, that's right, and all this act as a whole system to fight against the foreign organism. And the bridge between this innate and adaptive immunity is this dendritic cells and this macrophages also, right? So moving to the next question, hematopoietic stem cells are the pluripotent, which means that they are: option A is antigen specific cells, option B is capable of developing into any blood cells, and option C is committed to produce cells of a single lineage, and option D is not self renewing. So you have a time, you can think.
Option B.
Okay, so one of you is saying option B. Anyone else?
Option B, ma'am.
Okay. Option B. Anyone else want to answer for this question?
Option B.
Okay. So
Option C.
option C. Okay. Three of you are saying option B and one is saying option B and one is saying option C. Anyone else want to answer for this question? Sometimes the answer itself hides into the question only. So you have to read the question very carefully. Okay, let's see. The right answer for this question is option B. So great. That is capable of developing into any blood vessels. So with like in the question they said that hematopoietic stem cells. Stem cells we know. Like stem cells are the totipotent cells and which can convert into any type of cells. But here with the stem cells, these hematopoietic also comes, right? So what is this HSC, that is hematopoietic stem cells? They are the cells which can convert production which can produce the all type of blood cells, right? Hematopoietic, as the name also suggests, heme is related to hemoglobin, right? So here we can see that him, that is him related to the hemoglobin, and we know that hemoglobin is a part of RBCs, right? Blood cells. Poiesis means formation. So these can produce all type of blood cells. So these are mainly found in the bone marrow. So we know that there are the two kinds of lymph node, bone marrow and thymus. So mainly this HSC found in the bone marrow and they are responsible for the production of all type of blood cells. Why are they called the pluripotent? Why not they call the totipotent? Because pluripotency means the ability of single stem cells to differentiate into multiple cell type within a particular system, right? Like how, like in this case HSC can become RBC, WBC, platelets. Only in this kind of cells they can form, right? Related to the blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, and also the platelets, which not other kind of cells. That's why we called it as pluripotency, because they can differentiate into the multiple cell type but only within that particular system. Like him word is related to the blood cells, only different kind of blood cells they can form. And why not other options are true? First is antigen specific cells. No, these are the mature immune cells like B or T cells, not any kind of this stem cells, or these are not specific to the antigen. They don't have any roles related to immune, that these are antigen specific. No, so this is wrong and wrong. And the option C is committed to produce cells of a single lineage. No, they are more specialized and they are derived from the HSC and also self renewing. No, they can't divide and form the same kind of cells. Like stem cells, we know that they can form the stem cells also and other kind of cells also. And these stem cells then further they can divide into other type of cells like that. But they don't have any kind of this self renewing property. Here, these hematopoietic stem cells they divided into the common myeloid progenitor and common lymphoid. And lymphoid they gives the lymphocytes related cells, like here small lymphocyte and the natural killer cells NK cells, which will further not differentiated into any other type of cells, but lymphocytes further differentiate into the T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes. And then these T lymphocytes will form the T cells and all, and B lymphocyte will form the plasma cells, and these plasma cells then form the antibodies, and which will produce the antibodies against any antigen and all, so that they can bind and kill. And then another one is this myeloid progenitor. In this, erythrocytes will come into the play, mast cells, myeloblast, and then this myeloblast further they differentiate and form the basophil, which release the histamine, neutrophils, eosinophils, monocytes, and monocytes we know that different organs have a different name. Like they also differentiate into the macrophage. In liver cells, monocytes we called it as Kupffer cells. So different organs have their different name, right? And also these myeloid progenitors also help in the, because earlier we saw that they help in the blood clot also. How? With the help of this megakaryocytes, they form the thrombocytes and help in the blood clotting, right? Next question is example of the secondary lymphoid organ. So what is this secondary lymphoid organ? So in the option A is spleen and thymus, option B is lymph node and thymus, option C is spleen and gut, and option D is bone marrow and malt.
Option C.
Okay, spleen and gut. Anyone else? So
Option B.
option B. Okay. In the option, it's a mix of primary and the secondary lymphoid organs. So anyone else? One of you are saying option B and other is C. We'll see.
Option C.
Okay.
Option B, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else?
Option C.
Okay. So,
Option C, ma'am.
okay. So now more people are towards the option C. Anyone else? Okay, then let's see. The right answer is option C, spleen and gut. So let's see. We know that immune system is divided into two kinds of lymphoid organ. One is this primary lymphoid organ and another one is secondary lymphoid organ. So now what is the difference between primary and secondary lymphoid organ? So this primary lymphoid organ where the immune cells are produced and also the mature. The organs which produce this immune cells and where they mature. So we called it as primary lymphoid organs because immune cells origin starts from the these kind of lymphoid organs, and in this it includes this bone marrow and the thymus, and mostly in the bone marrow B cells produce and also they mature in the bone marrow, where in the thymus T cells mature. Right. So these two are include, like these two comes under this primary lymphoid organ. So here we can see that thymus. So these option we can exclude, and option B also thymus is there, and option D also bone marrow is there. So the only option which don't have this bone marrow and thymus is option C. So this is the simplest way to solve, because in secondary lymphoid organ four are there. So it's difficult to remember. It's good to remember the primary lymphoid organ so that we can exclude and we can choose like which one is the right answer, right? So the only option after this bone marrow and thymus is this option C. Now let's come, like what are the secondary lymphoid organs? So these are the organs where this immune cells, these B cells or the T cells, we know that initially they are naive because they don't have any interaction with any antigen. So, in the secondary lymphoid organs, what happen is these immune cells start interacting with this antigen, and they'll start activation. Activation of this immune cells will start in this secondary lymphoid organ. So, the basic difference, the origin in the primary lymphoid organ, but the activation and the interaction with the antigen is in the secondary lymphoid organ. So, in the secondary lymphoid organ, it includes first spleen. Its spleen does is it filters the blood and also it detects the blood-borne pathogens. So, the pathogens which present inside the blood, they will be detected by this spleen only, right? And spleen, we know that we also called it as graveyard of RBC, right? Where this, because we know that every cells have a definite lifespan, right? Like we RBCs have only 120 days lifespan, right? Then after 120 days, what will happen with these RBCs? We have to finish, like their lifespan will go and the remnants will go and go into this spleen, and which is the graveyard of RBC, which engulf these RBCs and finish that RBCs because they can't live more, they can't carry oxygen more, right? So, because these blood will come through the spleen and they'll detect this blood-borne pathogens. So, other function of this spleen is detect the blood-borne pathogen other than the graveyard of RBCs. Next is secondary lymphoid organs, lymph node. Here, what they do is they filter this lymphatic fluids and they'll trap the pathogens. Next is MALT, which is a mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. It includes the gall and this Peyer's patches. Gall is gutted associated lymphoid tissue and Peyer's patches is present in the intestine. So it's easy to remember the primary lymphoid organ, that is bone marrow and thymus, because secondary have the spleen, lymph node, malt, gall, and Peyer's patches. So you have to remember six, three, four, five names. But you can remember, it's easy only. So here we can see that how it looks. So this is the thymus here, and this one is the bone marrow, which is present inside the bones, and here the where they start the this bone inside the bone marrow where this hematopoiesis and also happens, and also the B cells production will happen. And like B cells production doesn't happen like whole, like through whole lifespan. Now the um, your homework is you have to find whether this B cells or T cells originate throughout the life, or they'll origin like a specific periods like through the childhood or through the embryonic stage or in the fetus only. So you have to find it out, right? Or this B cells origin happens throughout the life, you have to see. Then the secondary lymphoid organ is other than this bone marrow and thymus, this BALT, that is bronchus associated, this Waldeyer rings, spleen, and the Peyer's patches, which is present inside the intestine, and the malt. These all are come under this secondary lymphoid organs, right? Now, moving to the next question. The common myeloid progenitor cells give rise to. Option A is neutrophils alone. Option B is neutrophils, basophils, and NK cells. And option C is B cells, T cells, and NK cells. And option D is neutrophil, basophil, and monocytes. So, discussed earlier also. If you are paying attention, then I think it will be easy for all of you guys.
Ma'am, C.
Okay. Anyone else?
D.
Okay. So, when is saying B and one D, anyone else want to answer for this question?
Option D, ma'am.
Okay, option D. This one is also very easy to exclude the options and then you can figure it out like what is the right answer for this question. Anyone else? Okay, then let's see. You are right. Mostly you people mentioned the option D, neutrophil, basophil, and monocyte. So earlier I told you guys that two, one is common myeloid and one is common lymphoid origin. And lymphoid, we know that B cells related, T cells related, and NK cells related, right? So option C, B cell, T cells, NK cell. No, this is lymphoid. And then here also NK cells is there. Okay, we can exclude. And only neutrophil alone? No, we saw a lot of cells were there, right? In the common myeloid progenitors, not neutrophils, right? So this one also we can exclude. So the only option remaining after this is the option D, right? So very easy to see, like to exclude and see like what is the right answer. So the common myeloid progenitor, one of the main progenitor, and we called it as HSC, and it will give rise to the myeloid lineage. From the CMP, common myeloid, we can get the granulocytes. In the granulocytes, it includes the neutrophil, basophil, and eosinophils. Why we called it as granulocytes? Because in all the three cells, granules are present, and we call this granules granazyme also. So neutrophils, basophil, eosinophil. And another cells are the monocytes, which differentiate into the macrophages. And I also told that in different organs they have a different name also, and dendritic cells. And then erythrocytes, which produce the RBCs, that is the red blood cells. And megakaryocytes, I mentioned there that it helps in the blood clotting, and we know that in our body the only thing which help in the blood clotting is the platelets, right? I think everyone right, about the platelets. They help in the blood clotting. And who produces platelets? This megakaryocytes, and it come under the myeloid progenitor, right? So the next question is strategies applied by the host to deal with the microbes threat. So what are the strategies that is applied by the host? That means by us to deal with the microbes threat. Whenever the any microbes will come, then what are the strategies that our body will apply so that they can remove that microbes? Option A is avoidance, option B is resistance, and option C is tolerance, and option D is all of the above. Anyone?
Option B, ma'am.
Option B. Option B, resistance.
Okay.
All of the above.
Okay. So different people have.
All of the above.
Okay. Anyone else? So most of you are saying option D, right?
Option B.
Okay, option B. Okay, let's see what are the right answer for this question. So the right answer is option D, all of the above. So you or like I think all of you are right only, but you have to think whether the more than one option are right or not. And we know that in the D option, all of the above is also there. So whoever say avoidance is the right answer, yeah, avoidance is also right. But other than avoidance, resistance is also right. This tolerance is also right. How this is right and what does it mean? So let's see. We know that whenever this host encounter into our body, like microbe, our body whenever encounter any microbial threats like bacteria or viruses or fungi or parasites, So we use like multiple strategies so that we can protect ourselves, right? We use different strategies, will activate our innate immune system, our skin will react. So, you know, like we know that there are billions of pathogens, and they have a different patterns. Even that we have a different kind of antibodies to specific to each antigen. Like this is very interesting, like how, like this immune system itself in our body is like very interesting thing, that how they are protecting our body. Like daily we are, like we have encounter with a lot of pathogens, right? Mostly this in our innate immune system will deactivate all this pathogen and they'll kill, right? So the main strategies they fall, like the main strategies we apply to kill that pathogens or to kill that viruses or bacteria or fungi. First one is avoidance. So like what is this avoidance term is, so preventing the microbe from entering the body in the first place, like we avoid. So it's this pathogen starts and they wants to come under our body, right? Come and attacking the host. But we prevent this in the first phase only. And how? Through the physical barriers like skin, because we know that skin is the main part and the first line of defense. That pathogen try to penetrate into our, like first we know that our skin have this phospholipid bilayer, it'll try, but they'll counteract it and they'll kill that pathogens. They'll avoid that pathogen because the pathogen, they don't have a different mechanism so that they can enter into our body. So our body avoid that, right? Next is the pathogens coming, but we also coughing and sneezing. Through that coughing and sneezing, that goes away. This is also come under the avoidance. And the third one, which come under this, is behavioral strategies also. Through that also we can avoid and we can protect ourselves through the this microbial threats. And here come under the contaminated foods. So avoid to have this contaminated food. Whenever you go out, yeah, you want to eat street foods and you see that they put their food like that, no coverage and all. Here their flies are coming, other pathogens are coming, and whenever you'll eat that food, they'll start acting on your body and they'll attack, right? So also the important for you, that so that you can avoid this microbial threat, is this behavioral strategies. So in that you can avoid the contaminated food. So it come under this avoidance, you are avoiding, right? Simple, in simple term you can say that avoidance. And the main example is your behavioral strategies, coughing, sneezing, and the skin. Next is resistance. Now, how the resistance play a role to eliminate this pathogen is, they eliminate or reduce the pathogen after infection occurs. Right? We know that resistance is once the pathogen comes, right? Our body will start producing antibodies and all, right? But second time it will come, now we are resistance to that, because now even our immunity, they some of that innate immune cells also have this memory, not only adaptive immune system, right? So now we are resistance, we know that these guy came earlier also. This time if we'll try to enters, will eliminate that. After, even it will start infection, but before that infection will kill, right? Here they come under this innate immunity and the adaptive immunity. And innate immunity, example like phagocytosis by neutrophil or macrophages. It try to come on and attack to our body, but the neutrophils and the macrophages, they phagocytose those pathogens. And the next is adaptive immunity. Here the roles come B cells and the T cells. So because of that, these resistance will come under one of the method. Through that we can avoid this microbial threat. Next is tolerance. Here reduce the damage caused by the pathogen. Some worms or some like fungi or bacteria, they are trying to damage our tissue, and we have to, like, tolerance means we have that much tolerance that even if they cause that, but our body is defending, and they are so tolerable that within the time the repair also, and the consequences is that we'll not see any symptoms onto our body because we have that much tolerance that the it cause the infection into our body, but because of our very good tolerance, because of our good habits, we are eating good foods, we are eating which provide our immunity, so our immune system is very strong, we can tolerate that kind of infection. So this tolerance is also the method that we can avoid any microbial threat. And here come under this tissue repair mechanism and this anti-inflammatory pathway and the metabolic adaptation that allow the host to survive the infection, right? So avoidance that prevent the infection, and here come under the skin barrier and this mucus. And the second is resistance, which fight and remove the microbes, and here come under the antibodies and T cells. And the third one is this tolerance, which minimize the damage, but it will not clear the microbes, but it will minimize the damage. And here some of this example is this anti-inflammatory cytokines, right? So the next question is choose the mismatch. Now you have to choose, like, out of this all of, like, which one is the mismatch which is not matching properly. Option A is plasma cells secrete antibody molecules. Option B is basophils produce histamine. Option C is macrophages engulf and digest the bacteria. And option D is NK cell lies the virus infected cells. So think which one is the mismatch.
Option B, ma'am.
Okay, option B.
Ma'am, option B.
Okay, can you please tell
Ma'am,
me
option B.
why option B?
Because it releases histamines, it does not produce histamines. During allergic reactions, it releases histamines.
Okay, during allergic time, it produces histamine, right? It produces or not? Anyone want to answer for this question? It produces histamine or antihistamine?
Ma'am, histamine I think is an inflammatory, like it produces inflammation. So basophil kind of counteracts it. So it produces antihistamine maybe.
Okay, I think it produces histamine, but not directly.
Ma'am, I think it's option B because basophils release histamine and not produce it.
Hmm. So the statement we can say that, but I don't think so. Like directly, it's wrong. But in the, like, whenever I download this, they mention this option B is the right answer mismatch, but I don't feel like this is the mismatch because directly we can say that it will not produce histamine, it releases, but kind of it's true, right? How? We'll see. So first, you know that plasma cell. What are these plasma cells?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me. Anyone want to?
Ma'am, these are
Plasma cells are
activated B
differentiated B
lymphocytes.
lymphocytes.
Okay, both of you are right. So this plasma cell, I just want to give little bit introduction about this plasma cell. So this plasma cell developed from the activated naive B cells. When this naive B cells activates, this plasma cell develop from this. And the B cells, we know that it's a kind of lymphocytes, right? Secondary lymphocytes, lymphoid lineage, they produces this B cells, T cells, and NK cells. And these B cells mostly they form in the bone marrow. And the question for you guys is, does this B cells produce whole life inside our bone marrow or not? Right? So in the next class I'll ask also. And once these newly formed B cells have matured, they move from the bone marrow into the lymphatic system, and where they circulates throughout the body, and at this point they are known as naive B cells. Why? Because these B cells don't have any previous encounter to any antigens. That's why we called it as naive B cells, as I earlier also told you guys. Now the B cells are covered in membrane bound antibodies that are very specific to just one type of antigen. Can you guess how much specific is there? It is specific to like 10 ki, their dissociation constant is like 10 ki power 7 or 8, like very very, like in very specific. So there are millions of a different kind of membrane bound antibodies, but each B cells have one distinct type. When a naive B cells bump into an antigen that matches their membrane bound antibodies, then this antigen and antibody complex will form. Right? And we know that antibody structure is two heavy chains and two light chains, that's Y-shaped structure. And then this antigen will bind and they'll form this antigen antibody complex. And now we can say that this B cells is now activated because now it encounters this pathogen, right? Here, this B cells, once it will, if it will activate, they have this property that they can differentiate again into the plasma cells so that it again can form the antibodies. And also they have this memory cells which can keep the memory that whenever the same pathogen will come and try to when encounter to our body and try to cause that infection, so these memory, because of this memory we can recognize and will kill before they start the infection, before the infection only will kill that pathogen, right? Once the activation, already I told, these multiply and differentiate in the memory cells or plasma cells, and these memory cells are the clone of the original B cells, and they have the same antibody on their surface membrane. Now they can remain in the bloodstream for decades. As it is, they will remain into our bloodstream for decade after an exposure to an antigen, and they'll remember the pathogen. This is how people develop the long-term immunity against the certain disease. Now that these plasma B cells are antibody factories and they pump out the antibody that are present to antigen. Then these monoclonal antibodies, they'll circulate inside our body so that they can recognize that particular type of antigen, right? And once they find them, they bind to the antigen and they'll kill that pathogen here. So these B cells recognize these antigens through this B cell receptors, and after that they'll kill that pathogen. Also, they'll secrete this plasma cell, again they'll start forming this antibody. So they'll form millions of antibodies so that they can fight against that. Next is basophil. So here in the question it mentioned that it produced the histamine or it released the histamine, but it's kind of correct only because mostly this basophils, they play a role during the allergy. So during the allergic disease, example like allergic asthma. So they play their role during this kind of disease, allergic disease, and one of the example is allergic asthma. For what they do is, one is histamine, they release the histamine, which will increase the vascular permeability, so that after the inflammation only this blood circulation will happen smoothly, and it can cause the smooth muscle contraction also. Other than that also, they'll release the interleukin 4 and the interleukin 13. And here this interleukin, what they do is they promote the Th2 lymphocyte differentiation, and we know that Th2 further activate the B cells also. So inflammation comes from where? From the pathogen only, or from the foreign organism only, right? And we have to eliminate those. For that, adaptive immune system also play a role. That's why this interleukin, through this after the inflammation, this histamine and all, and this basophil will also, because these are also kind of immune cells, so histamine will increase the vascular permeability and all, so that inflammation, in the inflammatory condition also our body will work smoothly. And this interleukin and all also, they'll activate the adaptive immune system so that they can kill as fast as possible those pathogen. Also this help the IgE production, so that Ig, we know that during the allergy the only antibodies which help, which increases is IgE. And we know that how many kinds of antibodies are there? Five, right? IgG, IgA, IgM, IgD, IgE. So basophil promotes what kind of antibody? IgE. Next, in the option, they mention this macrophage that engulf and they digest the bacteria. So what this macrophages is, they known as big eater because they can ingest the pathogen, cancer cells and the microscopic debris, which are then destroyed and then degraded and after that recycled with the harsh chemicals. Mostly, unfortunately, sometimes macrophages sometimes fail to destroy the ingested pathogens. Whenever they ingest the pathogen, they have to destroy that. But sometimes, with even they tried with their enzymes and the chemicals they secrete, they will unable to destroy those ingested pathogen. And we call that process is processing of pathogens. They will fail to process the pathogens and activate that adaptive immune system. That time we can say that the pathogen they hide from the immune responses. So these play a very major role in controlling the inflammation, and their malfunction can impact the inflammatory disease. And where they found is, they develop in the bone marrow, as monocytes have to circulate inside the bloodstream and then they settle down in other blood tissues. And as I earlier mentioned, these macrophages have given different name depending upon the tissue they are found. Like in CNS, these macrophages we call it as microglia. In bone we call it as osteoclast, and normally we call it as macrophages. And also in like liver we call it as Kupffer cells. So in different organs they have a different names. In bloods mostly we call it as monocytes, so like that. The last is natural killer cells, and in the option it's mentioned that natural killer cell lies virus infected cells. So this is very important question, and this question is also come like in all the entrances, like because these NK cells, natural killer cells, are very specialized kind of cells which normally act during the viral entry. So during the viral entry, the only kind of cells which like these NK cells normally they act during the viral entry only. So these are a type of the white blood cells belonging to the innate immune system, or these are not the part of adaptive, innate, and they act as a very crucial first line of defense against the virus infected cells. So in innate immune system, during in innate immune system, the very specialized type of cells which play a role during the viral entry is this NK cells. So these natural killer cells, they are distinct from the B and T cells, and we know that B and T cells are a part of adaptive immune system, or that natural killer cells in the lymphoid lineage, because we know that lymphoid lineage have NK cells, B cells and T cells. So this NK cells is a part of innate, and B and T are part of adaptive immune system, because they don't require any prior antigen presentation and all. They directly kill those viruses. How they kill? So how they kill is, so this is the target cell, right? Here we can see that. Okay. Sorry. Someone is trying to in. I can't see, but okay. Sorry for the interruption. So this how they this natural killer cells kill directly. So here this is the target cell, viruses or something. So what they do is they have this lytic granules. Inside this lytic granules, they have some granules that will act through this perforins, and we call this lytic granules inside the material, we normally call it as granazyme. And in granazyme there are different kind of chemicals. So these are the chemicals which directly goes in, and target these cells and kill those cells. Another is signaling balance. They have this activating and inhibitory receptors also. This activatory receptor bind with the activating ligand, and inhibitory receptor will bind to the inhibitory ligand, so that they can kill these target cells. So in this way, they act and destroy this viral entry into the inside the body. Here is the signaling part. Do you guys want to like learn about this, or shall I skip? Anyone? Okay, then I'll explain this and
Okay, ma'am. Skip.
skip. Oh, you don't want to learn, that means. Okay, little bit I'll tell you guys that this NK cells are characterized are the large granular lymphocytes. As I earlier mentioned, they have a granular granules. That's why we called as large granular lymphocyte with the abundant cytoplasm. They have a abundant cytoplasm. Here we can see that this is whole is the cytoplasm, and this little bit smaller one is the nucleus. Not this one smaller, this is a large nucleus. They have abundant cytoplasm and the large nuclei, and this nuclei contains this coarse chromatin and very prominent nucleoli. They have these granules which filled with the perforins. This one is the perforins. Oh, sorry. Yeah. This perforins, they what they do is, this is the bacteria, right? And this is the membrane of bacteria. So this perforins, sorry, earlier I think mentioned something different. So these perforins and granazyme, what they do is, this perforins, they make the pores inside the target cells, and after the pores, all the materials inside the this microbes, or inside the pathogens, they'll release it out and burst those target cells, right, through the perforins only. So they have this cytotoxic granules, perforin and granazyme, which have a very crucial for the NK cell mediated cytotoxicity. And in terms of surface markers, normally on the NK cells they have this CD56. cluster of differentiation 56, and they have absence of CD3. You know, nowadays, like, we can isolate how we can work on these cells based on their receptors or their, and these receptors are specific to specific kind of cells, and we called it as markers, right? If inside our body we know that thousands of cells are there, how we distinguish that this is the NK cells and this is the basophils? Based on the markers only we can identify. So if I want to, because I am a researcher and I want to study the function of this NK cells, for that first what I have to do is I have to isolate those NK cells. And how can I isolate this? Through this marker only. So there is a fax machine. Fax is like which can assort the cells and sort the cells based on their markers, right? So we know that what happen is in the cells there is a site scatter and there is a forward scatter. We know that every cell have this complexity and every cells have their shape. Some are big and some are small. Based on their shape and the complexity, this fax machine will differentiate the cells. And how further we can differentiate is through the marker. So we'll sort the cell based on the 56 and CD3, in which CD3 is absent and CD56 are there. We can purely isolate that NK cells and then I can work. Like how is the NK cell structures, what other receptors are present, and how these NK cells function. So it's very interesting, right? Without that fax machine we earlier will be like we used to be unable to find a particular kind of cells, but someone discovered this fax machine and now we can isolate and we can work on that, we can see the structure and we can see the function, right? So here now come to the point that CD16 is also there. This is the FC receptors. It is also expressed on 90% of human NK cells, and it mediate the antibody dependent cellular cytotoxicity. For NK cells, these cells, how they kill the pathogens, we called it as they mediate this ADCC. ADCC, that is antibody dependent cellular cytotoxicity, and also the CD56 other molecule that help in the interaction adhesion with the nerve cells. And there are two subset of NK cells based on this CD56 marker. One is dim. 90% of the cells are this CD56 dim and 10% are the bright. And these bright one, they normally secrete these cytokines. I think this is more complex for you guys. That's enough. Okay, but I'll share that slide. You can read, whoever want to read that. So the next question is anti and an inflammatory response is induced by the sensor cells through the production of mediators called option A is cytokines only, option B is chemokines only, option C is both cytokines and chemokines, and option D is complement only. Anyone? I feel like you guys are now in sleepy mode. I explained a lot.
Ma'am, say
Okay,
Ma'am, option C.
okay,
Option C, ma'am.
okay.
Option C, ma'am.
Ma'am, option C.
Oh, nice. So you are listening me properly. Thank you. So option C. Most of you are saying option C. I mean, all of you are saying option C. So let's see, is the right or not? Very good. Nice. Option C is the right answer. That is both cytokines and chemokines. They, like, whenever the body detect this pathogen or this tissue damage, those special immune cells, like what kind of special immune cells, which respond, macrophages, dendritic cells, and mast cells, they are the first responders. And we know that these cells have a sense danger, and how they sense using the PRR. because they have these pattern recognition receptors which recognize the spam molecules which present on the microbes, the spam molecule present on the microbes. So through the PAM, through their PRR, these detect the PAM, and then these sensor cells release two major type of inflammatory mediators. What is this? One is this cytokines and another one is this chemokines. Cytokines, we also called it as immune messenger. Okay, I thought someone is trying to end. Okay. So, what are these cytokines? Is we called it as immune messengers. Their role is promote the inflammation, activate other immune cells, and coordinate the immune response. These cytokines are very, very small molecules which produce whenever they have to activate other kind of T cells or different cells, then these cytokines will form. And here the example is like TNF alpha, which is a tumor necrosis factor alpha, IL-1, interleukin 1, and interleukin 6. These kind of cytokines normally what they do is they promote the fever. Why they are promoting the fever? Because whenever the any microbes are entering, because they can live in the optimum pH and optimum temperature, right? Whenever our body temperature rises, the high temperature naturally kill those pathogens. So that's why these cytokines, they increase our temperature, and that increase in temperature is beneficial for us, because whatever the pathogens are inside our body, that will naturally kill because of a high fever. We may feel low and all, but these high fever normally they kill the pathogen, but if it persists many days, then it's a trouble for us. Then we have to go to doctor and see like why it's happening. And these cytokines also increase the blood vessel permeability. And another example of cytokine is interferons. Normally, during the viral entry, these interferons plays a role and eliminate the viruses. So interferon is, it's also an important question that interferons normally act in viral entry and help in the antiviral responses. The next one is chemokines or the traffic controllers. Their role is to attract the other immune cells like neutrophils and the monocytes to the site of infection or injury. And the second is they guide the migration of cells during the inflammation. And the example of this chemokine, one of the best and the one of the known example which is widely used, that is CXCL8. It is a type of chemokines, we also call it as interleukin 8. What it do is it attract the neutrophils. And now all we explained that the inflammatory response is induced by the sensor through this cytokines and chemokines. Okay, then what about this complement? What is this complement system is? These complement is another type of system in our body, but is not released by the sensor cells. It is produced by the liver and it activates in the blood, and these complement system come under the innate immune system. And what they do is they opsonize the pathogen, lyse the pathogen, also cause the inflammation. But it is not the main mediator secreted by the sensor cells. So here this conclusion that this cytokine is secreted by the sensor immune cells, they start and amplify the inflammation. And these chemokines are also secreted by and they attract the immune cells to the infection site. And complement system, it is secreted by the livers and it enhances the immune function. So I just want to give a brief about this complement system because it's a very important and a part of the innate immune system. And our body have a three kind of this complement system. One is the classical, another one is the lectin pathway, and third one is the alternate pathway. So this classical pathway, In classical, mostly it's antigen antibody complexes. This is very pathway later in the upcoming classes. Prof will explain to you guys, but I can give you brief. What happen is this C1, C4, C2, after this C3 convertase, this antigen antibody complex will form, and after that this C3 convertase into the C3A and C3 also bind, and then this opsonization part happens in this stage through the C3B. This C5 enzyme, which is initially inactivate, it will activate and convert into the C5A, and now the C5B will also bind and they'll form the complex to the 9, like C5B 66789, and these complex now form the MAC. And what this MAC, this like form this uh, like pore like structure, so that they can lyse the, but it's a very specific to this complement system, this MAC, and they lyse the cells and then activate cell lysis and activation. This happen under this classical pathway. And in the lectin pathway, this lectin is there, which bind this lectin of our body, it binds with the mannose on the pathogens. In this way they kill the, and here the alternative pathway is also there, in which this C3b plays a role, and then they directly convert this. Here the C142, these molecule will come, here directly this C3b will come, and it will convert. So that's why it's a alternate to this classical pathway. Is a non, these is the common between the classical and alternate, but this is the alternate molecule which alters this classical pathway, hence named it as this alternative pathway, right? So it's very complex, but in the upcoming classes you people will learn very nicely what is this, but it's a very short brief. So the next question is, the term vaccination was coined by. Option A is Louis Pasteur, option B is Edward Jenner, option C is Julius Baudit, and option D is Charles Richard. So it's a
Edward Jenner.
okay,
B. Edward Jenner.
Edward Jenner. Answer B.
okay, nice. You people know the even the scientist name. It's good. So you people are right. Edward Jenner is the right answer. The term vaccination was coined by this Edward Jenner. So he was the first scientist who first gave this vaccination term. Earlier, like before this Edward Jenner, we don't know about what is this vaccination. And here, after the vaccination discovery, how many disease we controlled because of this vaccination. What he do is like he saw some antibodies is like when the infection is there, he takes some pus from the that cow pus or something was there, he took, and then he injected into the different one in which the disease was there, and he found that the disease will now decreasing. So in this way he gave this vaccination concept. So it's very nice by this Edward Jenner. Through that now the vaccines are available, and we know that how many disease we control through the vaccination process only. And now the different kind of vaccinations are coming, heat kill, activated, like various kind of vaccination. And the next question is, acquired immunity shows all of the following except. Option B is non-specific to particular antigen, option B is diversity, option C is non-self recognition, and option D is memory.
Option A.
Ma'am, option A.
Okay. I think this is
Option A, ma'am.
okay. Now I think this is a very easy question for you guys.
A. Option.
Okay. So you all are right, because it's not a non-specific, it's a very specific to a particular antigen, acquired immunity, because our T cells and B cells will not do any non-specific reaction. They are very specific to a particular kind of pathogen. If if one pathogens have a different like particular kind of antibody, if another pathogen will come, then different kind of immunity antibody will form and they'll kill those pathogen. So you guys are right that non-specific to particular antigen is the right answer, as we know that diversity is there because we know that billions very different kind of microbes were there, and we have this diversity, and this is possible because of the vdg recombination. It's a kind of phenomena which will come into the play and it will form the different kind of antibodies. Later in your classes you guys will study about this, what is this vdg recombination and all. And next is self and non-self recognition. So this acquired immunity have a power very powerful power, that is to distinguish like what are the self and what are the non-self molecules. That's why they'll kill only the microbes only, they will not kill our cells. If they will start killing our cells, then we will say that the particular person have a autoimmune disease, right? That's because of the disbalance in the immune system, right? Otherwise it's a very like they have this self non-self recognition. And option D is memory. Obviously they have this memory because of that. If the same pathogen encounter to our body second time, they'll kill before the infection. And the last question for you guys is, individual exposed to smallpox viruses are immune to the same disease due to: option A is presence of large quantity of antibody. Option B is presence of long-lived memory cells. Option C is healthy lifestyle. And option D is generation of antigen-specific macrophages.
Option B.
Option B.
Option D, ma'am. Option B.
Option B, ma'am.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, you are right. Option B is the right answer. Whenever a person is exposed to this virus, like smallpox or other, our adaptive immune response, they recognize the virus, they produce a specific immune cells that will attack, and also they have we know that T cells, we have T helper cells, we have a T immunosuppression cells that will suppress so that further activation will not happen, and we have a T memory cells, they will remember that these pathogens already there. So because of the presence of this long lived memory cells, if the individual already exposed to the virus, they are immune to the same disease. So memory cells, you know that memory T cells, I already told, if the same virus will come, they'll rapidly respond and strongly and prevent before the infection. That's why someone who recovered from the smallpox, if anyone like have once this smallpox, they it will never come again to that same person. So usually protected from whole life. So that's all. Thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
Will we be receiving this presentation?
Okay. Presentation. I think your prof will share with you guys, but yeah, I'll also share with you guys with. I have a channel, by the way. We all NPTL whoever take these tutorials they have. I'll share with you guys, or else you can share your mail ID so that I can send you this PPT. Both will work for me.
Ma'am, anything